This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's now 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022, and I'll call this council meeting to order. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, the Anishinaabe, and the homeland of the Métis people. I'll start the introductions with our council members on the screen. Councillor Axworthy, Councillor Bartmanovich.
Hello, everyone.
Councillor Randall.
Hello.
And around the table.
Erwin Kumka. Lon Turner.
And Penny McMorris. So thank you, everyone. We have a lengthy agenda tonight, so we'll try and keep things moving. First up is the adoption of the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So be it resolved, the agenda be adopted with the following additions. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second, Steve, thank you. Any additions to the agenda? All those in favor? All those in favor, Mike and Graham?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Up next, adoption of the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 regular council meeting. Be it resolved, the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. Moved by?
I'll move that.
Graham, thank you. Second? Mike, thank you. Any discussion on the council meeting minutes? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you. All right, up next, we have our variance hearing. I see Ryan's on the screen. Hello, Ryan.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm doing well. How's everyone here?
We're pretty good, thank you. So council, we have before us a variance application for Hollard property on 3rd Avenue. So per the Planning Act, residents within a certain radius were sent registered letters describing the nature of the variance. Ryan, you're here to speak on the variance, is that correct? Or are you just
That's
here?
correct.
All right. I'll get to you in just a second. Can I ask if there were any objections received, Lon?
Nothing received by the office. No.
All right, any letters?
Okay. Either good.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ryan, the floor is yours if you would like to say anything.
I'm not sure if everyone here has reviewed the variance application, but in my mind, it's a kind of a minor ask, because there's a bunkhouse that has stood on the property since, we think it was built in 1962 by Samatia, but we're not actually even really sure, but the early 1960s, and it's rotten and falling down. But my grandmother's property at 223 3rd, for some reason, even the original cottage, which is, 90 years old or something, is built very close to the south side of the lot. And the way that Sam built this bunkhouse that exists there today, which is rotten and falling over, it's very close to the southern property line. It's 2.4 feet, I think, in the survey that we had. So really, we like that spot on the lot, and there's an existing bunkhouse there, but it's unusable. So we'd like to knock it down and build a very similar bunkhouse in exactly the same location. But it has triggered this variance approval because I believe the bylaw says it has to be 5 feet from the property line, and this is 2.5 feet. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but because of the exposure and the positioning of windows on the original cottage, we'd really like to keep it at its current distance off the property line. So here I am.
Okay, thank you. Does council have any questions? Steve?
Sorry, just real quick. I've read drawings for a very long time in my life, but it seems as though you're talking about the northwest side, unless I'm looking at the wrong one, rather than the southwest side. southeast,
The bunkhouse is in the southeast corner of the lot.
Okay.
We're kind of looking at this at a 90-degree turn.
Oh yeah, right. On the plan, the north arrow is on the left side of your page.
Yeah.
Like there's a little compass on the survey that Barnes and Duncan did.
Yeah.
Or no, not Barnes. Whatever. But yeah, the bunkhouse is on the south side of the lot. Yeah.
Okay. Ryan, what is south of the existing bunkhouse? Is that another cottage?
There is another cottage, yeah. And there's another bunkhouse built to the south of that place as well. And we're very chummy with the neighbors.
Okay.
And I've spoken to them about it, and they don't have any problem with us rebuilding in the same spot.
Okay. Is this bunkhouse any bigger or smaller than what's standing now?
So the new bunkhouse is exactly 140 square feet, and the existing bunkhouse, I believe, is about the same size, but it has a shed attached to it that the new one will not have. So it'll be the footprint of the building is about the same size. I think it actually the bunkhouse that's there right now is maybe a shade smaller, but honestly, I'm not exactly certain of the exact size of the existing bunkhouse, but it's one part shed and one part bunkhouse, and this one will just be all living quarters.
Okay.
40 is the maximum.
All right. Any other questions or concerns, gentlemen?
I'm only very confused as to like the drawings that I have in front of me, because it looks as though it's on the north side. But I mean, the bottom line is that if there's a shed there now, and you're building in the exact same spot, and your neighbors have absolutely no issue with it, and it's backing up onto your neighbor's side, and they're fine with it, then I don't see any reason why we would say no.
I think it's significant that there have been no objections. So we're not talking about changing anything really. It's just the new one's going to occupy the same space the old one did, and why not?
Yeah, I've got no objection.
Okay, Erwin, do you have any concerns?
Don't call for the question.
All right. All right, Ryan, it doesn't appear that we have any concerns here, but I do have to pass a resolution. So my only concern was, why couldn't it be moved over the full 5 feet? But I think you've answered that.
Yeah, we didn't want to. It's just more bush to cut down, and my grandmother's bedroom is also at the south side of the cottage, so I know it's minor. It's only a couple feet at the end of the day, but we think that those feet actually have a real noticeable effect on the cottage. So this is why we're here.
Anything for grandma?
Well, a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right.
Have you applied for a building permit yet, Ryan?
No, not yet. No, but we will shortly. Like, I have a set of drawings that is pretty close to being ready to apply. So I was just wanted to make sure that this would go through, and then we'll be applying for a building permit shortly.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, hearing nothing else, be it resolved, the Arm of Victoria Beach Council approved variation application 2022/03, varying the minimum side yard width requirement for replacement of existing bunkhouse and deck as follows. Minimum side yard width, seasonal resort 1 district, from 5 feet to 2 feet and 4 inches. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Steve? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Passed,
Get
Ryan.
your permit.
Excellent.
All right, get those permits
Okay,
going.
that was easy. Thank you very much.
Get a demolition permit to take the old one down too.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll make a note.
And you might have to get a development permit as well.
Okay.
No. Not if you're not removing any trees.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you
Okay,
get
ignore
any
that.
Sorry.
I'm sure the building
Yeah.
inspector will tell you what you need to do.
Oh, yeah, no,
There
he's
you
been
go.
very responsive too. I was in touch with. I had a couple questions for him along the way too, and he was very
He's a good
accessible
guy. He'll-
and good. So
guide you
I'll be
through it.
checking.
He's a good fellow. Okay.
Yeah, he seems
Okay,
like it.
thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ryan.
thank you very
Thanks,
much. I'm gonna hop off, but thank you.
Okay, take
Okay.
care.
Hi, Ryan. Happy
Bye-bye.
building.
Yeah,
Thanks.
happy building. All right, that was easy. All right, up next is our 2022 financial plan public hearing. So I'll now open the public hearing for the 2022 financial plan. For the public and council, public hearings must be held under the Municipal Act, Section 162.2, for the presentation of the annual financial plan of the municipality. Our financial plan bylaw 1633 received first reading on April 5th, 2022. And I would like to thank council for taking 2.5 days, weekend days, out of their busy schedule to meet and discuss and debate the 2022 budget needs, wants, and wishes. Like everyone else, our costs continue to go up. We don't get discounts on steel or lumber or gas, and nor do our staff stay static every year. But we do work hard to ensure that we have funds put away for the future, and we work very hard to provide realistic spending and budget numbers for our community. We met with Public Works, Fire Department, admin, to make sure we had a solid plan that addressed the issues. Of course, things always pop up, but the financial plan has been on our website for residents to view since early April. They required advertisements, replacing the free press. And as most residents know, our tax bills are determined by this financial plan, and those tax bills are due in the end of July. On that note, I will hand the floor over to our CAO, Lon Turner, who has a PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks, Penny. Just give me a few minutes here and I'll look at the PowerPoint.
It should be noted that there is no one in attendance, no one attending virtually, but we do have one resident in the audience.
I also managed to figure out what happened. I opened the wrong email, so I was looking at the wrong variance. But everything's still good though.
Okay.
Little late.
I'm so confused. I'm like, I've looked at drawings for many years.
All right.
Okay, so we'll move on with the presentation of the financial plan for 2022. We'll be starting off with the current property assessment of all the properties within the RM, looking at the mill rates. And we'll move on to the tax impact that the mill rates will have and summarize our municipal revenue. We'll move into the general expenditures of the different departments of the RM, look at our utilities at Victoria Beach and Albert Beach, look at some capital expenditures, the reserve funds that we have, the provisions that we'll be putting into those reserve funds and the balances of them. And we'll look at the debt of the RM as well as a long-term capital plan. First section will be property assessment and the mill rates. So the municipal taxable assessment across the RM has increased 1.5% from 2021. This is the portion value of all the different types of properties that are within the RM, residential, some commercial areas. That taxable assessment this year is $143,467,590, and up from last year of $141.3 million. So that's an increase of over $2 million. Just for everybody, one mill rate is equivalent to $143,468 this year, up from last year. The municipal mill rates that are proposed in this financial plan, we're going to put some savings away into the general reserve at large. There's a 0.7 mill rate that's going to allocate $100,000 into the general reserve. Equipment reserve of 1.4 mils, that will put in approximately $200,000 into the equipment reserve. And then for the rest of the expenditures across the RM, the municipal general mill rate at large will be 14.35 for a total municipal mill rate of 16.45. That is up 1.43 mils from last year's total mills of 15.02. Now, also on the tax that you'll be receiving, there's another mill rate. The educational support levy, this is only applied to commercial properties, not to homes, but it is at 8.7130. This is not under the control of council. This is given to us by the province. What you will see on the residential tax statements will be the Lord Selkirk's mill rate for this year, and it's at 14.4475, which is down a little bit from 2021. The tax impact that these mill rates will have could be overall, when you combine the two mill rates, an increase in taxes of approximately 4.1%. That's equivalent to about $55 in tax per $100,000 of assessed property value. There's some calculations at the bottom part of the screen that shows you the breakup between municipal tax of about $740 this year and school tax $650 for a total of $1,390.50. That's per $100,000 of assessment. So that's up $55 from last year. So if you have a $500,000 property, it'll be 55 times 5, $275. And so if anyone has any questions on this, please feel free to call me at the office and I can go into this in further detail if you like. Overall, the total municipal tax dollars that the municipality will receive from this proposal is taking the assessment the municipal mill rate, $2.36 million. That's over last year of $2.123 million. You can see the difference in change. In addition to tax, there's other revenue that the RM receives, and there's other transfers that we make. Included in this budget line item is the use of reserve funds for capital projects, supplemental taxes, leased properties, the sale of the bear-proof bins, building permits and fees, sale of protective services, golf course revenue, and other grants the RM receives, either private or from the province or from the federal government. In 2021, the budget for this other revenue was $656,000. We actually received a little bit more in grant money from the gas tax, so we had $65,000 more than we had thought we were going to get. The reserve transfers, we were planning on spending $311,500, but actually some projects that were proposed to happen in 2021 were tabled over to this year, so we didn't have to transfer that amount of money, so there was a little bit less use of those funds for last year. The 2022 budget, the revenue is up a little bit forecasted, up to $778,000, and we'll be transferring $370,000 out of our reserves this year. I'll get to that in a couple more slides. So this is just to give you a view of the total amount of dollars that the RM has control over is $3.5 million, and you can see that tax makes up about 67% of that, followed by the other revenue that we just talked about, and then transferring money out of the reserves is about 11%. Pretty similar to last year as far as the distribution of the pie chart. The total amount of dollars that are coming through the RM, though, we're just going to add in the school tax there, and that's the bright blue sector that you see there. So the total amount of money coming through the RM will be $5.5 million. 37% of that is school tax, 42% municipal tax, and then other revenue and reserve transfer. We need to raise that money for the expenditures that we're planning for this year. The first segment is general government services. This includes council indemnities and expenses, staff salaries, benefits, office expenses, legal and audit expenses, assessment services, insurance, and grants to community organizations. Last year, there was a budget of $618,800. Actual spent was $569,170. We had a little bit of surplus in this department. That was attributed to lower staffing and council expenses for the year. So it's $49,000 below budget. In the 2022 budget, we're proposing $616,100. Just the one key number in here that's different from any other years, it is an election year, and the expenses for that are just attributable to this year as to other operating years. Protective services. This includes police services, fire protection, emergency measures, 911 services, building inspection, summer gate office, and animal control. The 2021 budget was $708,420. I've spent $639,900. So again, there was a bit of a surplus here of $68,520, and this is attributable to lower supplies and lower repair and maintenance costs that were planned. In 2022 budget, this department is up a little bit, up to $834,470. And this part of it in this segment is a Fire Smart program, the new CSO program, and our new police chief and officers that we have for this year. Transportation services. This includes public works staff and equipment, fuel, insurance, repairs, workshop operation, gravel, dust control, drainage, traffic signs, and snow removal. 2021 budget was $738,700. We're pretty close to budget there at $717,71, a little bit less, and so we saved $21,529. This was mostly attributed to lower materials and supply costs. The budget in 2022 is fairly similar to 2021. Just in here, we can expect higher fuel costs just with the price of fuel these days. Environmental health services. This includes the nuisance ground operation, so the waste and recycling depot. We budgeted $139,000 in 2021 and pretty much came right on budget. The 2022 budget is up to $213,600. This is attributed to a new site employee that's proposed at the new site that is being built as we speak. There's more bear-resistant bins that are being purchased this year, but those will be sold, and that revenue will be recognized in other revenue for the year. And we're anticipating increased service fees and waste recycling. Public health and welfare. This is a doctor's college clinic and social welfare services. $6,500 were budgeted, $79,17 was spent. Just the utilities and the supplies and material costs were a little higher than budgeted. And 2022 budget is just accounting for this inflation. Nothing out of the ordinary this year. Environmental development services. This is the maintenance of municipal properties, accessibility, brush pickup, stairs, street lights, and planning and zoning. The budget for 2021 was $186,140. Came in less than that at $135,477. Lower cost in planning and zoning. The brush removal was a little less than budgeted. Stairs and again, general repair and maintenance was a little less than anticipated. 2022 budget, it's up from 2021. This is mainly due to the site prep, screw piles, and utilities for the police RTMs that are one is being put in right now, and there's a proposal for a second one to be done this year as well. Recreation and cultural services. This includes the Victoria Beach Golf Course. The budget was $152,250 in 2021. Actual was just slightly above that. The 2022 budget is slightly up a little bit to $170,300. This is just to account for the increased costs for weed killer and fertilizer and some building repairs that will be done. Fiscal Services. This is what we spoke to before about the transfer of reserve funds back in the reserve transfers and other revenue. We planned on spending $311,500 in 2021, but some projects were tabled to this year, so we only had to transfer $150,232. 2022, the budget is $370,000 for this year, and we'll get into the details of that on the next slide. So the $370,000, garbage and recycle depot, we have $180,000 allocated for that project. This will be paid for though by the gas tax reserve fund. So it's a savings account that will transfer money out from that into our operating fund to pay for that project. Modular home, the first one, the total cost is around $210,000, but we'll be responsible for an $80,000 payment. This year that will be paid out of the general reserve fund. And the second modular home as well, if that does happen this fall, that will be approximately $250,000, and we'll make $80,000 payment for this year, and that will also come out of the general reserve fund. And some golf course equipment, I'm going to spend $30,000 on that, and that will come out of the golf course reserve fund for a total of $375,000. $370,000. We'll be also putting money into these reserve funds. These are provisions. In 2021, we budgeted $222,390. We got a little bit more money from the gas tax, and there's one other thing I don't remember what it's for, but most of that is made up of an extra gas tax grant that we got from the federal government. Over $37,000 more than what we had budgeted. 2022, we're going to be putting away $336,240, and that's made up from 100,000 of the general reserve, 200 into the equipment reserve, the gas tax, 22,390, and then also the golf course reserve of 13,850 for a total of 336,240. I'm not going to go over these accounts, but it's just a list of all of our different reserve funds that we have. And at December 31st, at the end of last year, that just shows you the balance that was into each reserve fund. Penny, do you want me to go on?
I don't think so.
So there's over $1 million in all the reserve funds combined. One way to sum it up.
The only thing I would point out is the utility reserve fund. Specific Albert Beach and Victoria Beach funds can only be used for those specific water utilities.
Correct.
I would just point out real quick that for some people, they might look at this and think to themselves that, you know, wow, that's a lot of money that we're putting into reserves constantly, but that can get drained really quickly if something goes sideways. So while it might seem like a lot, it certainly is not in excess. And it is absolutely something that is fundamentally necessary to protecting the taxpayers from a very large increase should any emergency happen. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is a summary of the expenditures for the RM. The different departments that we spoke of in the previous slides. General government expenses, 18%, protective services, 24%, transportation services, 21%, and the rest is allocated to the different departments that we spoke of. The utilities, as mentioned before, it is treated separately from the general RM taxation. Utilities is meant, it's a separate fund that's meant to pay for itself from the users and people that benefit from the utilities. So the Albert Beach utility in 2021, the budget was $29,520 in revenue and to spend $29,520 in expenses, and came within 67 cents of hitting that target. So it would be okay with the auditor. The 2022 budget, we're planning $21,500 for revenue with the matching expenses. The one different thing here that they're going to be putting a security fence around the utility. We have $7,100 allocated for that. The Victoria Beach utility, 2021 budget, we planned for $343,120 in revenues and reserve transfers. Expenditures were $343,120 matching. We had a few less expenses year, and we had a small cash surplus of $12,332. In 2022, the budget is to select $314,520 with matching.
That number is actually more significant because we didn't have to transfer the 30,000.
Didn't have to use the reserve funds that were last year. This year, you can see $95,520 significant capital expenses for the Victoria Beach utility, and I will get into that in the next slide. Yeah, so here's the capital expenditure showing for $95,000 into the Victoria Beach utility and $7,100 for the Albert Beach utility. Operating fund is going to be paying for the upgrades to Victoria Beach, and we're going to transfer money out of the reserve fund for the fence around Albert Beach utility. There's several different major components in that $95,000 that I didn't itemize. But if there's any questions, please feel free to call the office. The debt and capital plan for the RM. Pleased to announce that there is no debt. Want to have a full slide for that.
Hasn't been for a while.
That's a good thing. You're not wasting money on interest payments. That's good. The long-term 5-year capital plan, we're required to look ahead 5 years to prepare long-term bigger projects. And here's some of the things that we've proposed. 2023, a parking lot expansion and police modular homes, which will continue those payments that we talked about earlier. Potential garbage compactor for the new recycle center in 2024 and 2025. A new fire truck, possibly a civic center and police barracks. 2026, fire hall expansion. In 2027, Albert Beach pump house building, and possibly a new grader. The total of all those combined is $2.783 million. And that brings us to the end of the financial plan. No one's attending really, other than council. And if you have any questions,
John?
John, any questions? So feel free to call the office, or if you have any questions on this at all, we'll do what we can to answer.
That was a great presentation. Very well
Thank you.
done. Easy to follow. Council, do you have any comments or questions?
I suppose I just like to point out the fact that Penny is exactly as you just said. That was very comprehensive, very clear, and I think that we made one hell of a good decision in our CAO.
Thank you.
I would just like to say that going into this year's budget, I was really staunchly against raising the mill rate as high as we are. However, unfortunately, Ukraine happened, and all the projections previously when we started the budget was saying that inflation was going to reverse, and now it doesn't look as though that's going to happen anytime soon until that conflict hopefully ends soon. So I don't think that a 5.1% increase is unreasonable, sadly. I think it's absolutely necessary. And so, yes, because of that, I'm for it. If we go lower, then the risk that we run is, massive increases in our general operations, which would be foreseeable right now, leaving us in a compromised position at the end of the year to try to scavenge this or that and increase the mill rate even more next year. So I think it's necessary for this year, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Graham, Mike?
Pretty much the most significant contributor to this year's tax increase is the additional amount that we've decided to put into reserves. And this just makes good sense to put money away for future. We're not putting it away just in case. We're putting it away for big expenses that we know are coming down the road. So I think it's the responsible thing to prepare for these now.
I'll just echo, very pleased that council has agreed to increase reserves. We know what's ahead, and if you chip away at it a little bit each year, it's far less damaging if we 3 or 4 years from now had to face a large expense. We might have to actually borrow some. So it's just good planning to set aside a rainy day fund. So.
Yeah, as Lon had pointed out, the last thing that we wanted, especially with some of the purchases that we have to make as a municipality, the last thing you would want is to do a debenture or take out a major loan, and then again, that's just a nonstop cost to the taxpayer. So it really is the most prudent thing. As Graham said, that these are expenses that we know are coming up. There's a couple that can even really help and protect the RM in short and long term. And all of this money is, all these reserves have a real purpose as to why they're there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just hope everybody understands that while we're looking at increased operational costs, specifically in the areas of basic raw materials and gas, we expect that everything is going to go up in price, and we picked this year to go ahead with a significant capital project, and that is the new waste and recycling area that's being built now. I just hope everybody remembers that not only are we councillors that have to weigh the benefits of running the municipalities as effectively and efficiently as possible, but we are also all taxpayers, and we're going to be paying the same rate increase as everyone else. So I hope no one will think for a second that we were at all cavalier in putting together this budget for 2022.
Any further comments from you?
No.
All right. All right. Hearing no other comments from the floor and no one virtually, I will close the hearing. And we will move on to our next order of business.
Can you just explain to the public what the process is on, where do we go from here on?
Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Further down in our agenda, we will be approving this bylaw, this tax levy bylaw, second and third reading. We will also be approving the 2022 budgeted revenues and expenditures, the 2022 capital budget, and the 5-year capital expenditure program by resolution. Once these are passed, this information is sent to the province.
That's correct.
Who,
And yes, we just request tax statements. They'll look at the financial plan for final review and approve it at the provincial level. And then they'll approve the tax statements. They'll be mailed out to us. And then we'll send them on up to the ratepayers. And we'll get that done as quickly as possible.
does that answer your question?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for asking.
I just wanted everyone else to understand.
Right. Sometimes you forget, you're so immersed in it, you forget that others aren't quite as aware. So thank you. All right, so we will move on then to accounts and finances. Be it resolved that the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Accounts payable checks 10087 to 10114 in the amount of $61,168.16. April 29th payroll in the amount of $35,271.82. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Graham, will you second?
Sure.
You. Erwin? Discussion?
Again, this is actually quite a low accounts payable, and there are no unusual items.
Any comments, council?
Nope.
Could someone just clarify checks number 10099 through 10107 or 10106? Says void during printing. What does that mean? Is that my printing on my printer? Am I missing some information? It's on page 3.
Yeah, in my experience, sometimes you hit a button when you're not supposed to, or there's not enough checks in the printer, or something gets spoiled, or the feed gets lodged and that kind of thing. So it reprints and has to come up with different numbers. They annotate that for the auditor to make sure that every check is accounted for.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lon.
Any further comments or questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. No business arising, so we move on to other business. Let me make sure I have this in the right order.
Budgeted revenue.
Okay. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council approved the 2022 tax levy for total municipal expenditures of $3,508,134.36. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second? Mike, thank you. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Nope, it's been dealt with.
It hurts,
Dealt
but
with and explained very well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. All right, up next is the 2022 capital budget. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council approved the 2022 capital budget. Total expenditures of $472,620. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Graham, thank you. Steve, will you second? Thank you. Again, any further discussion?
No, it's been examined.
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. 5-year capital expenditure. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council approved the 5-year capital expenditure program. Total expenditures, $2,783,000. May I have a mover? Mike, thank you. Second? Erwin, thank you. Any discussion, any further discussion?
I would only point out that it's not something that's set in stone. It can change depending on the year. And as a perfect example, this year, God forbid, this inflation gets worse, things are probably going to change next year for capital expenditures. So it's what we want to do, but it's not something that we have to do. We are going to have to absorb those costs at some point, but it is a little bit flexible.
It's a plan.
Yes, Steve is quite right. Time will tell as we work through the next 5 years, but it's the best that it's the most responsible scenario we can foresee at the present time. So, and it was dealt with, I think, quite well in the budget presentation.
Mike? No? All those in
Have
favor?
my say.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right. Isn't it bylaw 1633?
Oh, yes, you're correct.
Okay. All right, be it resolved that bylaw 1633, fixing the rate of taxation for the year 2022 be given second reading. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Second. Steve, thank you. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
No.
I would only say that, and just to bring this up now, because I think it's worth discussing, which is that, or just pointing out that paying the Lord Selkirk School Division as much as we do is ridiculous. That we do need to change taxation, but I also want to point out that the way that the province may be bringing that up again is entirely the wrong way to do it. And hopefully the changes to education are not going to be anything as visceral and sick as they were before. So hopefully it's changed for the better, and we'll see.
Penny, did you say when you're speaking the bylaw, the resolution, did you say 1632?
No, it's 1633 actually.
Thank you.
My mistake, Mike, sorry about that. It's 1633.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Third reading, this is a recorded vote, gentlemen. Be it resolved, the bylaw 1633, fixing the rate of taxation for the year 2022, be given third reading and passed. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Oh, Steve got there ahead of you. Graham, will you second?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Any further comments, gentlemen?
Just the correction to 1632.
That's been taken care of.
Got it.
Thank you.
It's been a long process and a lot of detailed work was done.
Yeah.
It's nice to get to the point when it's finished. Again, thank you to Lon, an excellent presentation.
Yeah. And I think residents need to know that we go through our budget sheets line by line every year and compare them to the year before, sometimes 2 years back. We do go into a lot of detailed review and discussion. So thank you, council and our admin, for everything they've done to get us to this point. Any
I
further
look
comments?
forward to it every year.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimous. Thank you very much. Well done, gentlemen. Thank you, Lon. And thank you, Raymond, and our staff for helping us out, helping us to get here. All right, Police Chief Service Agreement. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council approved the Police Chief Services Employment Agreement between Kevin Paul and the municipality effective May 15th, 2022. Further be it resolved that the mayor and CAO will be authorized to sign said agreement on behalf of the municipality. May I have a mover? Steve, thank you. Second? Mike, thank you. As residents may know, we were searching for a new police chief, and I would really like to thank the police board for all of their efforts. I know they interviewed people and spent a lot of time meeting to discuss the needs of the community, so thank you all very much. Mike, did you have anything you'd like to add as our representative on the police board?
Everything you said times two. As everybody will know, we've had to go through this exercise twice in a relatively short period of time, and I think the second effort has borne good fruit. I think we have two fine candidates who are coming on board, both having distinguished themselves in their WPS careers. Just one thing that I would note is I believe in Victoria Beach, it's not the police chief, it's the chief constable.
You're right. Chief Constable, if we could make that change.
Well, it depends what's in his agreement.
I just went by the Police Act, Mike, and I just use the terminology from there. They're referring to it as the police chief in the Police Act. So,
Well, okay.
I can change it if you like, but
What did you sign? He already
I signed police chief.
You signed police chief, so.
Fair enough. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Close enough.
A promotion before we've even signed it. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, any further comments, gentlemen? All
No.
those in favor?
All right.
Carried, thank you very much. All right, up next, be it resolved, the Arm of Victoria Beach Council approves police officer services employment agreement between Audie Rexeiler and the municipality effective May 15th, 2022. Further be it resolved that the mayor and the CAO be authorized to sign said agreement on behalf of the municipality. May I have a mover?
I guess I should move one of these.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Graham, you got that one.
Just got it.
Yeah.
So it was-
Mike moved it, Graham second. So Mr. Rexeiler will be the second in command, full-time officer in the RM. And again, thanks to our police board for all their efforts to secure both of these gentlemen. I look forward to meeting them and working with them. So any further comments? Oh, Graham?
Just a comment. Thank you. Thank you once again to Stuart McPherson, who's stepped back in and tided this over in the interim. Good on you, Stuart. We appreciate it.
Certainly do. Thanks for that, Graham. Mike?
I don't know what Stuart's going to do with all those gold watches. He keeps coming back and retiring again. No, again, I'm pleased with the candidates who have come forward and accepted the offers from the RM. Kevin has a lot of experience in a supervisory administrative capacity, and Audie comes from a very diverse policing background, not the least of which is community policing, and I think the two of them will complement each other quite well, and I look forward to working with both of them.
Right.
When are they expected to start?
May 15th.
May 15th.
Do either of them need to upgrade their training, Mike?
There are a couple of things that that both Audie and Kevin have to recertify on, and those are being addressed now.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right.
I would just only echo what Graham said with regard to Stuart. If you see him this year, thank him, because it's because of Stuart that we still have a police force.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
All right.
Carried. Thank you.
And if I may very quickly thank my fellow members of the police board for the exemplary work that they all did. Liz, Andrew, and a new member, Tim, were all in their sleeves rolled up and really put a lot of effort into the process. So thanks to them.
Yes, agreed. Thanks, Mike. All right, up next is the accessibility project. Whereas the arm of Victoria Beach Council has approved a project to build a washroom accessible to all, 2 accessible parking spaces, install bear-proof garbage bins and mobility mats in Albert Beach within an undeveloped road allowance north of Pitt Road that will help to improve accessibility infrastructure in Albert Beach. And whereas the arm of Victoria Beach Council unanimously approved a grant application for funding for this project and were successful in receiving a $25,000 grant from New Horizons for Seniors Program. And whereas the Plage and Albert Beach Association has noted concerns such as potential safety and traffic flow issues, taxpayer benefits, and impacts on adjacent property owners that may occur if this project is carried out as proposed. Therefore, be it resolved that the arm of Victoria Beach Council temporarily suspend the project on the said road allowance in Albert Beach until consultation occurs between council, the accessibility committee, and residents of Albert Beach, taking all concerns and issues into consideration. Erwin, thank you. Second. Steve, thank you. In regard to this resolution, I'm hopeful that the meeting that Erwin has set up for a week Sunday with the stakeholders will result in us not even needing this resolution and will allow us to move forward in a positive way with this project. I'm really pleased that everyone's agreeing to sit down and meet and discuss it in a respectful manner, and we will see what we can do to keep this project moving forward. I just want to note that it is important to me that the RM continue with accessibility infrastructure. It does benefit all residents, and 1 in 4 Manitobans has a disability or will have a disability in their lifetime. Each one of us is only 1 step or 1 second away from having a disability. So it's our job as elected officials to do our best to remove barriers that impact the lives of persons with accessibilities and enhance their lives and those of their loved ones and caregivers. So that's my spiel. Any other comments on this resolution? Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I did ask for mover and seconder. Pardon.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Erwin.
I think it's very important that council is listening to our ratepayers. And I think this exercise has demonstrated that, perhaps we stumbled a bit on communication, and I'm very hopeful and optimistic that the meetings that are planned will allow us to move forward in an acceptable way.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments, gentlemen? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. CSO employee wages. Be it resolved, the Arm of Victoria Beach Council approved the 2022 Community Safety Officer employee wages as per Schedule A, dated May 3rd, 2022. May I have a mover? Mike?
Yes, I will move it.
All right, may I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Graham, thank you. Any discussion? Council did receive this information today. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Just looking at Mohit's hourly rate, it was budgeted to be in recognition of his experience as being a special constable in the past. The rate was budgeted at $1 an hour higher.
For Mohit?
For Mo, yeah.
Are you meaning
$1
higher?
more than what's on there now, or $1 more
Yeah.
than?
$1 higher per hour, yeah.
And what about the top community safety officer? My feeling is that should start January 1st. at the higher rate?
Yeah, for the time that he was putting in as we were putting the program together.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that's what we agreed to originally, Mike,
Yeah.
to pay that rate. So I think it should go back to January 1st or whenever.
That's being reconciled.
Yeah, which we can
We'll
reconcile.
change that.
Yeah, I recall that he deserved that bit of difference by virtue of his background and input in getting the whole program up and running.
Mhm.
Okay. Any further discussion, gentlemen, on this? Right, all those in favor? Carrie, thank you. And thank you, Mike and Raymond, for accessing the grant for, what is it, Canada Summer Jobs or Summer?
Green team.
Well done.
We got a green team grant.
Got a green team grant that will go towards, does it just go towards salaries, Mike?
No, it goes to equipment, and because as you can appreciate, the equipment cost is considerable outfitting the new community safety officers. So it can be applied to the purchase of equipment, salaries, or any other incidental expenses, essentially, of the CSO program.
And there's a fair amount of paperwork with these grants, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Somebody such as our head CSO may have some paperwork on their hands in terms of reporting and in terms of time spent by the employees, etc.
I'm sorry, did you say head CSO or CAO?
Head CSO, I may have said CAO, but there will be some liaison between this head CSO and the CAO.
Oh, yeah. And
just as there will be a liaison between the senior CSO and the chief constable as well.
Right.
And this successful grant application was not foreseen when we pounded out the budget, so we're a few bucks ahead. Good for us.
All right, any further questions or comments, gentlemen? All those in favor?
All right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I know you put a lot of work, time, and effort into this CSO program too, Mike, so thank you. CSO training, be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach community safety officers be authorized to attend safety officer training at ACC, Assiniboine Community College, in April and May of 2022 in Brandon, Manitoba. Further be it resolved, the municipality cover all associated costs to attend said convention per meals and travel policy 219/1. Now I have a mover. Thank you, Mike. Second? Steve, thank you. Any further discussion on this matter?
Just rest assured, I spoke with Tony earlier today, and the new recruits are definitely being put through their paces, and it's kind of an interesting experience for a lot of them as well, because not only is it just community safety officers, but there are also First Nation safety officers that are attending the exact same training at the same time. So they are getting an experience in not only how they'll be expected to provide safety in Victoria Beach, but also how First Nation and Indigenous communities see the importance of community safety officers in their communities as well. So I think it's an amazing bonus for them.
Glad to hear it. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to correspondence. We recently received an email from the Victoria Beach Summer Club, BB Club, about their 101st anniversary event. Their 100th anniversary was last year. Of course, COVID precluded them from having any celebrations. So Council did receive the email about this event, and they will be seeking our approval. So are there any questions or comments about their letter? Concerns about the event?
No,
For the benefit of our,
They read it out pretty well.
they seem to have the I's dotted and the T's crossed.
Erwin asked if I could just give a brief outline. As I said earlier, it was our 100th anniversary last year, but they couldn't have their party. So this year they developed a plan to host a beer garden with a disc jockey. They're ordering bouncy castles, a photo booth, face painting, and food trucks for the afternoon of July the 16th, 2022, which I believe is a Saturday. It will be from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. in the sports field, and then the sports field within the vehicle restricted area. And then they'll have a dance in the evening at the clubhouse. They've also designed some 101st anniversary merchandise, hoodies, and t-shirts. The dance will replace the 30-plus dance that is normally held by the VV Club. And the tennis community is also hosting a fundraising dance on July 2nd. So there will be two dances in the restricted area this summer. So they have considered security requirements. They've considered washroom requirements. They've been in contact with Manitoba Liquor, Cannabis, and whatever they are, MLCC. They have bartenders. They have some refrigeration. They have ID checks, wristbands, tent, small tent. And they are actually having a couple of food trucks, possibly 3, come into the event. Confirmed power sources and COVID protocols, if there are any. And they've got setup and cleanup crews and garbage and recycling. So I think they've done a very good job of making sure it goes off well and is a fun celebration for the VB Club members.
Yes, and well, Penny, you carried almost all the weight. It can't be forgotten for our 100th anniversary. So you know what goes into this. So thank goodness the club has picked this up so it doesn't fall on you or us or council.
Huh.
And I'd certainly be in favor of indicating our support to them.
It looks like the MLCC requires a resolution that we support this, or do you think they just require a letter from us?
MLCC, they're legal by definition. Let's do a resolution and we throw it on to the next meeting.
I think they need this sooner than the next meeting.
Okay, you want to write one?
Usually they don't need resolutions for these types of things.
So maybe it's just
maybe that things have changed since I was in the industry, but the last time that I went forward with something like this, it was just basically an approval from council and the letter from the CEO or CAO.
Okay, well, let's
Let's send them a letter. Let's send them a letter now. If they require a resolution, we can get one pushed through.
After the fact, yeah.
So I'm
Let's
hearing
not
that.
hold them back.
So I'm hearing that there is consensus that yes, this can go ahead. Correct?
Yes,
Yes,
go ahead.
absolutely. Yep.
All right. So we'll leave it in Lon's hands to write a letter of approval or support from the RM.
Yeah.
I mean, just consider if it was like that for Winnipeg. I mean, you would have resolutions nonstop throughout the year. So yeah, it's usually just a letter.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. And next up on our correspondence list was tree planting. And I think Council Lon was very gracious in reminding me. We received a letter from a resident in April asking about any tree planting plans, specifically in the village green. And my response was that we have a line in our budget, but we don't have specific spots that we're looking at planting trees. So is there any discussion from council that how you want to move forward with a project like this? I know We did talk last year briefly about planting trees near Public Works, but it was a drought year.
Well,
So,
council kiboshed the tree planting last year for whatever reason. But I'm more than willing to go through the village green, get people to, throw the 2 cents in and come up with a floor plan for the village green. There's been several trees that have been cut down, regardless of how you feel about it, diseased and otherwise. So those I think need to get replaced, but then depending as to how much money we have in that line item, I think we could do some really creative things that'd be very good for the community.
my concern is there's lots of areas in the municipality that could probably use some new trees. So I think we need to have a look at the whole RM and see where some may be required.
Yeah, and the ones that we were going to do to beautify the front entrance to Public Works, I don't think they should be completely forgotten. There's a row there that we could put in that would enhance the appearance, because there are some of the older Public Works structures that are going to remain in place, and it would be nice if we could hide them just a little bit.
If we have a full tally, then I can get.
We looked at a row of trees all along there.
If we have a full tally, then the dealer that I was working with last year when I proposed to council, he was saying that he would still be able to give us a fairly significant deal based on the number of trees that I quoted last year. So if it's anywhere near that number, then they would be very excited to work with us, and this would also include delivery. Planting would be a little bit of a different issue. Most likely that would be our responsibility. But again, depending on how much money's in the budget, then we can look at that as well.
I think the issue was also planting and keeping them watered.
Yeah.
We had, I think on the list, there was over 100 trees or around 100 trees last year, and wasn't it something like that, Steve, that you had looked at?
Yeah, it was somewhere in that neighborhood. But again, we have that massive wood chip pile, and I know that a lot of people in the municipality don't think that wood chips are a good idea. Wood chips are mulch, and they are mulch that don't move in the wind. They absorb moisture like crazy, which is a great thing. And if you have a good really you want kind of a 3 to 4 inch layer on top of the soil, then drought really becomes very little of an issue. We have a fantastic Public Works crew that, if somehow this turns around back into a drought, can maintain. You really only need to maintain them for about a year, maximum kind of 2 years. But then they'll grow on their own. They really just need to get that taproot down a couple of feet to where the water level is.
Well, and as Penny had explained in her reply to Caroline, there's municipal property beautification, $4,000 allocated. If we want to use that as our benchmark, we have to come up with a plan. Exactly where should we plant $4,000, $3,000 worth of trees, whatever we decide to kick in. There needs to be a plan. We still have our is Tammy Scott going to hang in there with us for another year? Does anybody know?
I understand he is. I think I'm fingers crossed. I believe he may be, yes, because they still refer to his equipment trailer as Tam's trailer. So I'm hoping that's a good sign.
Well, he could perhaps be consulted on free planting. He's the best we've ever had.
All right, so why don't we maybe leave another thing in Lon's lap and ask him to talk to Public Works. If Tam comes back, we can talk to Tam and see if he has a plan in mind for tree renewal and what kind of trees we might be looking for. Then we can go back to Steve and Steve's contact.
Gotta be deciduous.
Gotta be deciduous, yes.
Yeah.
Again,
Yep.
And let's leave this open to Steve's contribution as well. But we could start with Tam. Ask the guy who knows.
And I would really start honestly with the space in front of Public Works. If you put good sort of you could fit a third row between the highway and Public Works in some of those areas, and then that way the Public Works building over the course of sort of 6-10 years will eventually disappear. You won't be able to see it very easily, and I think that everybody can agree it is an eyesore to look into that area on your way into the beach. So that is
you had them all mapped out, and we just didn't do it. So this year, let's force ourselves to actually do something.
We get the snow plow moved.
Right, it's decorative.
Right?
The blade.
What if we get painted?
Sell it for scrap.
Might be a good thing to do.
Uses it. Never moved it.
It's decorative. If you want to call it that, it's a lawn ornament.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, any other correspondence that you'd like to bring forward?
Just one note, Penny.
Oh, okay.
And actually, it's something that I had seen on Facebook. But there are, and I'd mentioned on the RM's Facebook page, there are reports that the bears are waking up. So everybody, please empty your bird feeders and don't be leaving food out for the timid woodland creatures, because the not so timid ones are on their way.
Okay. Thank you. Erwin?
Each of us received a memo about the flooding that is taking place in Albert Beach. I was totally disappointed to find out that on a weekend when the whole province was essentially dealing with emergency, that we didn't have anybody to stand by, and why those pumps were turned off is, I think, needs to be determined. It's just completely inappropriate.
I'll bring that up.
I mean, I think it also points out the fact that the drainage in Albert Beach is very challenging. You know, that the old properties that were a new subdivision, they wouldn't be allowed to be built because they're low. Unfortunately, the water runs down from Saffy Road, it gets trapped by the beach berm, and the pumps can remove some of it. But I think we have to take a serious look at an idea that was proposed a couple of years ago about extending our drainage west into the Poirier division. Mitch Poirier has agreed to that, and I think we need to take a close look at that.
I agree with Erwin, and that I would also say that in other municipalities, they have a requirement that when you put in a new development, it has to be to the 200-year flood mark plus 2 feet. That really is the responsible level that when you're putting in a new development. I know that in Albert Beach it's challenging, but I mean, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when your house is flooded if you go below that.
It's already happening. I mean, any new development has to be built up to a certain level. I think it's 717.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, the old part of Albert Beach it's low. But I think there's some work needs to be done on the culverts, and needs to be some work done on the ditches. But I think that's something that we can
I want to update council on codes for signage that I brought up a meeting or so ago. I did finally get the second quote, and it is lower than the first. So I'll be bringing something forward to council for the next council meeting.
by much.
By enough,
Very good.
yeah.
Good price.
So thank you for
Worth
that.
the effort. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that's all that I have at the moment. Do you have anything, Lon, that you want to bring forward, or?
Not at this moment.
Right, anything else, gentlemen?
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
We're done. Be it resolved, May 3rd, 2022 regular council meeting be adjourned. Next regular council meeting to be held on Tuesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. at the social scene, gentlemen.
At the social scene.
Hooray.
We're back
Here,
to the meeting.
here. I'll move that.
All right, and second,
I'll second it.
Bim, thank you.
I wonder if we're gonna have water by that day.
Well, council does need to advise residents, and we will be sending something out to residents to let them know that Mother Nature has. There's still plenty of snow on our water lines. The ground is still slightly frozen. So we cannot guarantee water for the May long weekend.
No, and we never have. Never
We
have
never
we.
have, but there is that expectation, so I
There is
guess.
the expectation, so,
We have
yeah.
to let people know. Yes.
Yeah.
So we are going to be working on an update to residents. Hope we'll get it out early this week. And that will be one of the topics. Public Works has the plant. Plant is able to produce the water, but the lines aren't able to distribute it without causing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Or even being able to get through the lines at this point in time. If you haven't been at the lake, you have no idea how much snow is still up there. The lake is still frozen. You can still probably skidoo on the lake. So we need some real.
But don't.
But don't.
Please
Yeah,
don't. Please don't skidoo on the lake
don't skidoo on
or
the lake, but
walk on it or anything.
the fact is that Mother Nature has not been kind this winter, so that may impact when our water system is able to distribute
Well, the
water.
Urban Beach pump house is operational, so you
It's on-
can get fresh water there.
You can get fresh water out at the tap outside now.
Yep.
And there's water at the fire hall as well.
At the fire hall also, yeah.
But we
Everybody knows what kind of winter it was.
yes, but we know they like their water on by the May long weekend, and Public Works is doing everything they can, but they can't defeat Mother Nature.
Absolutely.
And we can't put antifreeze into the water lines.
We cannot do that, but
Says the guy on the Albert Beach system.
if you are out there and want to move some of the snow off the lines in the back lanes, that might help. It's also your line into your cottage, right? And
If you expose your lines, they're gonna melt a lot better.
There's piles of snow in the bush that's not going to be gone till June.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was there.
In all seriousness, it actually might be worth throwing that into the communication because it's true. That would help a lot.
Yeah.
well, I'll send it around to everyone. We had a few topics on there that I want to include, some more urgent topics.
Okay. We'll watch for that. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Meeting adjourned.
And we'll see everybody on the 17th.
Yes.
Lon, could you hang in for a minute, please, as soon as the recording's turned off?
I'm stopping it now.